in spite of the actual deep crisis in the capitalist economy. This is a matter to be noted down. In spite of the actual deep crisis in the capitalist economy, as well as in the bourgeois social thought, the socialist movement is not gaining. This is an observation he has made, but rather suffering with the weakening social position of workers. Moreover, added to it, there have been problematic situations in the existing socialist countries, including international conflicts, even wars, military invasion among them. The process of the Cultural Revolution in China, the weak position of workers expressed in the Polish Solidarity movement, and the role of orthodox Marxian theories, which tend uncritically to legitimize the status quo in those countries, are some of the issues. The gap between the ideal and the reality of socialism generally seems great. Socialism, including Marxism, as an alternative to capitalism, are thus also in crisis. The element was not present in the preceding historical crisis during the Great Depressions in the late 19th century and in the 1930s. We have to recognize that human history as a whole, across the West and the East, as well as the North and the South, is on serious trial. This is the observation of Makoto Ito, the Japanese economist. And as a classical example, when the COVID crisis of 2019 started, the whole world was looking at as if this crisis will lead to the fall of capitalism once again. But within a short time of the recovery from COVID crisis also, we find that the capitalist systems are not so shaken as we thought of. Because I have been going through several lectures during that time to online sessions conducted by several Marxist scholars, pointing out that this COVID 2019 crisis is a classical example of the failure of capitalism. It is true. Absolutely. There is no second thought in that. But why the other areas of the suffering class is not looking at the socialism as an alternative is a matter to be considered. This, in my understanding, has certain of elements in Lohia, which we can, because Lohia's idea of socialism has a broader and open-ended idea, because Lohia was always saying that every theory has to be open-ended. It cannot be a closed theory. Theory always must be open, must be always open for criticism and also for further development. No theory can survive by saying that I have reached the finality. So Lohia has one more opportunity of one historical experience. That historical experience is freedom struggle under the leadership of Mahatma Gandhi. Because the leadership of Mahatma Gandhi has given a different understanding of the struggles against colonialism or a power, mighty power. Because so far the world has understood the struggle means the struggle through violence. There is no alternative for struggles except violence. For smaller personal disputes, there may be other ideas like fasting unto death or satyagraha, something like that, at the smaller levels, at the smaller dispute levels. But at the higher level, at the national freedom struggles, at the anti-colonial struggles, at the struggles of the workers against the capitalists, the idea that you can invoke, you can think of an alternative of non-violence to conduct the struggle is something, a definite historical experience Lohia had in addition to the Marxist ideas. So Gandhi's specific contribution to the philosophy of economics is he was out and out an anti-colonial fighter. The second aspect is he has understood the demolition caused by colonialism on the intellectual capacities of the Indians. In terms of economy, he was talking about something new. That is, so far the idea is the industrial technology, improvement in science and technology, improved production will take care of every problem. But Gandhi was trying to say that any mission which replaces the human hands may not help the suffering class to come out, to ameliorate themselves from the sufferings. So this is an idea. And a new idea has emerged through Gandhi, that is, there is a possibility. It's not that there is a definiteness, but there is a possibility of trusteeship among the capitalists and the workers, capitalists, where they feel that they are not the owners of the money, owners of the capital, but only trustees. It is technically very difficult to inculcate the idea of trusteeship in the capitalist. Everybody knows that capitalist is having only three primary objectives in his life. That is laissez-faire economy, then profit, then individual freedom. These are the three foundations of the capitalism: exploitative, laissez-faire economy. So, but Gandhi's contribution is possibilities, exploring further possibilities into the idea of alternatives. Then he has also come with two words called as Anchodaya and Sarvodaya. So these are the two additions to the historical experience. And then he was talking about not the demolition of the villages in terms of the industrialization or modernization, but making the villages self-sustainable and villages as the supply elements for the cities, instead of cities becoming the exploitative and supply elements for the cities. So these are all wonderful ideas which Gandhi has introduced, which Lohia had his experience in, has the advantage of having his experience through Gandhi. But at the same time, the pure idea of non-violence, even Lohia doubted that it may not be so easily possible. So this non-violence has to attain some kind of an aggressive social, civil nature. Until unless that area is taken care of, a simple non-violence will not work, was one of the areas where Gandhi subjected Gandhiism to criticism. And moreover, when Marxism has the ability to revolutionize the societies while in opposition or in power, Lohia makes a specific observation that Gandhiism lacked that particular element of what's called as a struggle or revolutionizing the people after getting into power. He observes at certain places that Gandhiism has three elements. One is official Gandhiism, which lost all the power of any revolutionary element. Then the second element is the ashramite Gandhiism, which just considers Gandhi as an icon of peace and non-violence and a spiritual experience. And then the other is oppositional Gandhi. So this particular ideas of Gandhi have their own relevance in Lohia formulating his action plan. So with these few areas, now let me go into some of the considerations and some of the what's called as expressions made by Lohia on Marxism. So Marxist prophecies. Lohia says at one place, while it grows and magnifies, capitalism gives rise to concentration of capital on the one hand and socialization of labor on the other, to big capitalists owning and commanding larger and yet larger sectors of economy, and huge proletariat which gets organized not only because it wills, but more so because concentrated capital starts bigger factories and throws thousands of persons together to work in the same place. At the same time, exploitation of labor increases and its impoverishment is an inevitable consequence. Then Lohia asks a question: does it bear a close scrutiny? Whether, and again, this criticism that the prophecies of Marx have failed, so Marxism has failed, is not something new. So Lohia differs with that area and says that whether stray predictions have been right or wrong may be left unconsidered. The law in all its exactness is available to us and must be reviewed. The law says that class struggle will assume critical proportions in the advanced capitalist countries and will become so organized as to overthrow capitalism and usher in a communist social civilization. So his main idea is not stray prophecies going away, but the entire theory looked in terms of laws of capitalism, they are appearing to fail in many of the aspects. That's what Lohia wanted to convey. According to Lohia, Marx's initial fallacy was to have examined capitalism in the abstract, which I said that the accusation against Marx is that he examined capital versus labor as if it is a closed unit, and where capital is exploiting the labor time of the working class and getting the surplus value added to his pocket. According to Lohia, Marx's initial fallacy was to have examined capitalism in the abstract, to have wrenched it outside of its imperialist context. So Marx has eliminated the imperialist context of capitalism and examined value and surplus value theory is one of the points made out by Lohia. And with all these criticism and other things, he restarts examining what is called as history, class, and caste. So this is the basic theory which Lohia tries to examine afresh: the idea of history, the idea of class struggle, the idea of caste, because India has a specific feature in the sense that it has a caste system. This caste system has virtually nullified many of the propositions in the grand narratives like capitalism and communism. So here the element of caste has created new paradigms. So theory has to be not only just adjusted. Most of the people think that theory has to be readjusted. Marxist theory can be readjusted to the idea of caste, but it is not the case. Theory has to be redefined right from the beginning. This is what Lohia was trying to do, because the history was examined in terms of what's called as a linear progression of history by Hegel, Marx, and many Westerners. And people like Spengler and Toynbee, they thought of history as a cyclical movement. But Lohia was trying to find out the compromise, not even compromise, a third alternative of history. While he says that history is more explained, it's not that exactly explained, more explained in a better way in the cyclic form than in the form of the linear progression. Because linear progression is an idea which comes out of a particular mode of history where everything is going in a progressive manner. So European societies, when they are going in a progressive manner during the 17th, 18th, 19th centuries, they did not understand the idea of there will be a fall and how that fall comes. So when Lohia was trying to create an alternative idea of history in terms of the wheel of history, he was not just repeating the wheel of the ancient time. He was introducing an idea of wheel which is not only moving forward in the time frame, but also has a cyclical explanations. So he has come with a new idea called as maximum efficiency. That is what he says is most of the systems, most of the countries start with a particular ideal, one or two or three, and they try in their journey towards the extreme idea of those extreme edge of those ideas. Say, for example, some societies take economic equality as the highest idea. Some societies have taken spiritual pursuits as the highest idea. Some systems have taken equality as their highest goal, or increasing the production or technological expansion is from another this thing. So when countries have started their journey in a particular direction with a particular initial idea and try to travel to the extreme levels, that is what is called as the maximum of that particular, at one point of time, they reach the highest point where from they cannot go further. So from then onwards, a backward journey has to follow in the social journeys. This is what Lohia calls as the cyclic movement. And this is how Lohia differs with the Marxian explanation that the history hitherto is the history of class struggles. He says that the history hitherto is the oscillation between castes and castes and classes. That means classes, what's called as consolidating into the caste and caste expanding into the classes. This is the oscillation that is happening in the whole society. So Lohia took a different understanding of history, historical movements, class and caste. And one of the areas which here I wanted to point out is when the understanding of the caste or efforts to understand the caste has started somewhere in the beginning of the 20th century, one scholarship tried to understand caste in terms of the text, that is the Manu text or the Hindu scriptures. This is one way of understanding the things. The second way of understanding the things is under uneven development theory contemplated by Marxists. So they said that in the economic journey of Indian society, from tribal to urban areas, certain pockets remained with uneven development, and the caste system has developed out of that uneven development theory. But unfortunately, by 1980s, the textual-based caste analysis has dominated the social dialogue than the political economy explanation. Even Marxists also at one point of time given up their own idea of understanding the caste system in terms of political economy, and they too are more going towards in terms of the textual explanations. So here the relevance of Lohia is a very important thing, that he has tried to explain caste in terms of the political economy, overwhelmingly on political economy, less relying upon the text. Only when he wanted to compare the what's called as Valmiki system of understanding, or Vasishta and Valmiki comparison, he derived some comparisons through mythology and tried to explain the things. Otherwise, most of his explanations on caste are on the basis of the political economy. Because the idea of class and caste oscillations is a wonderful contribution to the idea of understanding caste, which is not available, which unfortunately Marxists have given up by 1960s, and then they never try to revisit again. But in the meanwhile, the textual understanding of analysis of caste has started dominating the social dialogue, the Ambedkarite dialogue. But even Ambedkar also has tried to put caste in terms of political economy, but somehow that idea of political economy understanding has receded back, and textual understanding has dominated the social dialogue. So with these 3-4 areas of understanding, he started proposing alternative socialism. So this alternative socialism has examined the specific Indian context in terms of caste, and recognizing the caste as imposing higher premium. He did not say that caste is an impediment in the socialism. He said that recognizing the caste as imposing higher premium on social change, that is what is need to be understood. And the strengthening of the Indian economy, the stagnation of the Indian economy over centuries. And then he also said that synthesizing the Marxism and Gandhian action is also no answer. Then non-violence also constitutes certain elements of weaknesses, and if non-violence alone cannot resolve the social disputes, at one point of time it may be necessary for violence to be invoked. This is as far as the socialist practice is concerned. Then he has come down with certain doctrinal foundations which are very important in understanding Lohia. That is his Sapta Kranti. That means equality cannot be achieved in a single economic struggle. So equality has to be contemplated in terms of 7 important struggles between individual and individual, gender equality, then equality between the villages and the towns, equality between the south and north, then developed and underdeveloped nations, and added to that, it must have an equality at the global level. So these are all various levels of understanding, and then even organizing the society. Also, he has contemplated in terms of a Chaukamba, that is a 4-limbed constitution, village, district, state, and nation, and added to that in the modern world, the 5th limb of world government. So with all these wonderful ideas, he visualized a new civilization which is not burdened by the baggages of the past and relapsing into the always relapsing into the past. He visualized, that is why when he ended the wheel of history, he gave a message saying that, look, the wheel is ready. The civilization is waiting behind it. Just break open it. You will see a wonderful new civilization. So this is how a different idea of socialism, a third, and in fact, his idea of socialism is not a third alternative. It can be a third, fourth, fifth, any alternatives, because his theory is always an open-ended theory. So this is how I tried to put Lohia, but it is not the end of it. There are certain areas which need to be understood in Lohian theory also. First of all, Lohia struggled hard to convince his own comrades. And none of his comrades were absolutely convinced about his propositions. There were always, because socialists as a group were individual intellectuals. All are original intellectuals. So they had their own wonderful differences also. At the same time, what's called as the idea of small unit, which he proposed, almost lost significance by the end of his own life. So whether small unit mission can be reintroduced into the economic activity is a $1,000 question. And apart from that, during his lifetime, he has to face the challenge of the mainstream socialism of Marxist variety and the Nehruvian variety of socialism. And both these things have provided several challenges to Lohian understanding of Lohian distinct understanding of socialism. And more and above, globalized economy has put a greater challenge on the very concept of socialism of all branches, so including the Lohian idea. So these are all the things I wanted to try to convey in my book. It's a 200 pages thesis. I don't think that I have covered the entire philosophy of Lohia, Gandhi, Marx. These people are not amenable for a single thesis or single explanation. So I try to put these areas into my idea. Thank you very much. I once again thank Gandhian School of Democracy and Socialism Forum, ITM University Gwalior, for giving this opportunity to me. It's virtually a launch of my book among the best intellectuals of the India. And then Professor Anand Kumarji, Professor Randhir Kumarji, and all your friends, organizers, for giving this opportunity. Thank you. Thank you very much.
Congratulations, sir. Thank you so much. The way you ended the presentation is a very academic invitation for all of us. Look at the relevance of Lohia, because as you said, capitalism has this great capacity to renew itself. Right from the end of the First World War, it was about to die, the Russian Revolution, but it did not. And it saw re-emergence through welfare state, through fascism, Nazism, then American hegemony. Again, as you said, during Corona, there were many predictions about the demise of capitalism. But now we see that it is bouncing back through many ways. Secondly, you also said Marxism. Marxism was a major challenge in Lohia's time, but the predictions about Marxist project based upon capitalist technology, and capitalist management principles, minus private property, of course, Communist Party's guidance, did not go very far. Soviet Union collapsed. It was a tragedy which Lohia would have been unhappy about, but it proved his prophecy. And the tragedy of China is less said the better. Now, as you said, the small-scale technology, problem of caste, the capacity of societies to choose between material and non-material goals, they have become open again. So I request Randhir ji to open the session. It is now attended by around 60 plus people for a good harvest of questions, because as you said, Raghu ji is not looking for solutions. He is waiting for questions and challenges so that this unique contribution in English language on Lohia's ideas can be further contextualized and further utilized for new wave of discussion and debate. Randhir ji, please.
Thank you. Thank you so much, sir. And it was really very wonderful and very thought-provoking session. And it is a kind of session which invites all of us a curious engagement. And the praxis of Ram Manohar Lohia is very inspiring. And the way Raghu ji delivered his deliberation invites us to read his book also. Because he not only engaged with Lohia's writings, but also theoretical or philosophical conceptualization of his writing. So thank you so much, Dr. Raghuji. Dear and respected friend, if you have any question or query, please indicate me in the chat box. And I request you to please brief in your question or comments so that other can get some more chance to ask more questions. Yes. Please unmute yourself, Sanat Narayanji. Yes. Please unmute yourself.
Namaste, yes. Sir. Sir, one thing I appreciate, you have said that progressive linear developments, and you have uttered a word cyclic. That's very, very important, very, very important. And most of the literatures, what I'm finding, one kind of thing is completely isolated. Second one is open, third one is closed. Isolated in the sense, you are there and your society is there, neither your thought nor your experience is exchanged between them. Second one is closed. Only your ideas can come out and your experiences are not shared with the society. Third one is open. You can freely discuss your dialogues, your experience with others. That's number one, sir. Now I want to measure as an ingot. I'm asking a small question when you revise your edition, I request yourself with a humble thing. There is a big doubt with all people, capitalism and communism. Is it purely an economical policy or a political policy? What is the link between these policies? And so many people said that capitalism ends with socialism, Marxism also ends with socialism, and finally nowadays a guild socialism is coming. And are we bothered about only mathematical, numerical and statistical analysis and textual things? Or we are going for an application of things? We are reading about Gandhian policies, Lohia's policies, and so many other people who created miracles. To what extent these are carried by boats to the people who are required, who are actually in need? And I personally feel that the intellectuals should try their best to take these things to see that the people who require get the fruits ripened properly. Thinking about the literatures written, thinking about and studying about the literatures, intellectuals may get certain ideas. But my personal request to all intellectuals is how far we are in a position to carry them on a boat to see that the fruits are enjoyed by the necessary people. Thank you, sir. Thank you very much.
Yes, I request Raghuji to please note down these questions so that you can answer at the end of the session.
Oh, sure.
One question raised by Soumitra ji. Is there only difference between march on the basis of non-violent? And one more thing, what is Gandhi's thought on enlightened anarchy? And one question somebody directly asked to me also, what is Lohia's understanding of international division of labor, if you can explain. Yes. So these are the three questions. So initially you answer and then we will invite some more questions.
Thank you. First of all, let me reply to Dr. KVS. Either Marxism or Gandhism or Lohian ideas, all these ideas are all comprehensive, organic. They are connected with a lot of things. You cannot identify Marxism only as an economic theory. It's a complete understanding of a society and reconstructing a society. So every aspect of it, morals, ethics, organizing the society, state, its availability or non-availability. So many other areas come into the idea of Marxism or socialism. So yeah, it's not just an economic or political theory. It's all comprehensive, organic theory. Either it is Marxism or it is Gandhism. That is why Lohia repeatedly says that there is nothing called a synthesis between these two ideas. Synthesis is something which will happen if there is a probable areas of conjunctures. So there are so many, and Gandhism also all-compassing the areas of thought, because truth is related to peace, non-violence and truth are related to a form of state. Here there is a question as to enlightened anarchy. Yeah, Gandhi at the ultimate, one of his final ideas expressing about the state, he said that enlightened anarchy is the idea of state he has in his mind. And what he meant by enlightened anarchy is, if all are highly enlightened, there is no necessity of the state. There is no necessity of the authority. So the enlightened anarchy, the absence of the authority, is the ultimate state, because the people normally say that less governed is the more better governed or something like that. But what Gandhi says is his ultimate state, because he started with a particular Ramraj. Ramraj also in his own thinking is an enlightened anarchy. That enlightened anarchy is something like a statelessness in Marxism. The ultimate status of the advancement of communism, where all contradictions end, and a state, there will be no state at all, because there is no necessity of state, because all are enlightened. And similar is the expression of Gandhi, because Gandhi, many of the readings of Gandhi indicate, I have examined in my book on Gandhi, how Gandhi is more and more influenced by the anarchist theories. But he has removed the idea of violence from the Western type of anarchy, and he has introduced anarchism without violence. It's a great idea which Gandhi has propagated all through his life. And then international division of labor, how Lohia understands. I think, sir, I may not be in a position to answer this particular question, because there is no definiteness of ideas of Lohia on this. Because Lohia, at the time of his time, he was in his theory of what is called as history, or maximum and total efficiency. He was saying that if the idea of total efficiency, that is efficiency in all angles, is not contemplated and journey is not started. Every time the societies will start with a single or one or few ideas and they go to the maximum of it. And at that maximum of point of time, there will be a kind of lag between that particular society and the remaining part of the world. So that contradiction always continues. So until unless this whole world travels towards his idea of total efficiency, this contradiction is continue to remain in the world order. So world order also is one of the Chaukamba, the additional fifth limb of Chaukamba, because until unless that is tackled, that is taken care of, that is understood, all the efforts within the nation to organize the nation in a what's called as a diffused administration will not make any difference. The international division will continue to be there. Thank you.
I think Randhir ji, Soumitra and Bhargavi have raised hand.
Yes, Soumitra
and Bhargavi.
Yes.
Yes. Actually, I am actually from Darjeeling, from long away. So actually, my question is in aspect of religion. Actually, Marxism didn't believe in religion or God, but Gandhi, he believed religion. He said that I can't take a breath without believing God within me. So I just want to clear from you, sir, that what is the role of religion just to fulfill or to achieve the goal of Gandhi and the other two persons like Lohia and the Marxism in respect of religion? Yes, sir.
Sir, they're all, when I started my work on Lohia, I tried to restrict myself mostly to talk about his socialism as an alternative to the existing ideas of socialism. It is true, I admitted even in my book also, that he wrote on many other areas, like religion, like mythology, like sculpture, arts, dance forms, music, on whatnot. He expressed his ideas on so many things. But one thing is sure, that Gandhi might not have given a philosophical articulation to the idea of religion, because he found that religion is inevitable, and any idea of alienating religion and the politics will become a coil of a vicious serpent. So he thought that religion has to be there in the politics. Religion is one of the factors which will regulate or give some kind of moral or ethical structure to the what's called support to the politics. But here Gandhi also considered religion mostly in terms of moral and ethical structure, not as a religion as an institution. He considered religion in terms of a moral expression. So that is how Gandhi understood the religion, in my humble understanding. But Lohia is, as a philosopher, he understood the significance of religion. Though he's one or two statements that if politics is a shorter version of religion, religion is a longer version of politics. So you cannot avoid religion, especially in the Asian countries. Lohia was very clear, because Marx in the European progressive times, in the times of what is called as positive sciences growing abnormally, and there was an industrial progress, entire Europe thought that secularism can definitely distinguish between the state and the people's individual spiritual pursuits. And then slowly, with the development of science and scientific inquiry, people will come away from the religion. Religion is nothing but an opium of the masses. So the opium, even in Marx's sense, also is a redoubtable project, because some say that he used it in a very figurative sense, where he considered opium as a medicine, and then said that religion is the opium of the medicine. But Lohia is one scholar who recognized that religion cannot be avoided, because religion as a spiritual pursuit, even after an absolute material achievement, is likely to be there. Personally, whether Lohia believes in God or not is a different thing, because he's acting as a social scientist and he's explaining a phenomenon in which he says that religion is going to be, for a long time, an important element in the Asiatic societies at least. So that is where he invoked Gandhi's idea of inter-religious dialogue as a better course of action. And that is where he has even thought of organizing Rama and Melas in a different footing. That is the idea of conglomeration of different Ramayanas being talked about, discussed, so that, see, this is a religion is definitely an institution is likely to be more powerful in Asiatic societies. This is one of the fundamental recognition made by Lohia. So I think Lohia has given a kind of philosophical explanation to the what is called as the availability, not need, the phenomena of religion and its availability. He has recognized, and he thought that it's going to be there for a long time.
Let us request Ms. Bhargavi for her question. Ms. Bhargavi.
Sir, can you please throw some light on new socialism?
Yes, Bhargavi, please repeat your question.
Please repeat your question, Bhargavi ji. You talked about.
She has raised, I think, new socialism, the idea of new socialism.
Prof. Samantraya ji, can you unmute yourself? You have some question. Prof. Samantraya.
Thanks. I could listen to Professor Raghunath last part of the lecture.
Kumar ji.
But in my mind, our mind, so far we believe in Gandhism and we believe in socialism of Dr. Lohia, and we never also reject Marx. We also, because when Dr. Lohia says neither I am a anti-Marxist nor I am a Gandhian, what he says like this, we believe that the contribution of Marx, and afterwards, after I think more than 100 years, the socialism of Dr. Lohia, and seen in Gandhi's also, or the philosophy, or in India also the equality. But how can now, in this global capitalism, how can we connect the contribution of Marx, Gandhi and Lohia? In what way the youth or the present generation can accept three things, three philosophies or three contributions, historical contributions, to lead a future with socialist thoughts in new form?
Thank you. Thank you, Professor Samantraji from Odisha. Yes, Raghuji, can you respond to Bhargavi and
though I think I am not so competent to answer the questions raised by Professor Samantraji, I would like to make only one submission. First, a similar idea has come from Bhargavi, who talked about new socialism. Either socialism or communism or Marxism has to renew itself. There is nothing like a finality for any idea. And many of the scholars have identified that each generation has to identify its own philosophy, its own needs. It has to redefine philosophy. There is nothing like a finality for anything, especially in the social movements. And Marx is an important figure, continues to be an important figure. Only thing is, I am a bit forwarding a bit earlier. I am also thinking in terms of understanding or relocating the so-called utopian socialists who were discarded by Marx in terms of his scientific socialism. I want to reconnect the thread between the utopian socialists, Marx, and later Gandhi and Lohia and all these things, because there is a continuity of thread in my understanding. So this is necessary. Marx cannot be discarded because there can be no discourse without Marx as long as the classes exist, the exploitation exists, the capitalism is undergoing its own changes into aggressive modes. So Marx remains, but as a method or as a system is the question, as a final conclusion or as a method of understanding this social phenomenon. I consider Marx exists for me as a method for understanding this, not as a final conclusion, because I don't consider even Lohia as having any final conclusion. This is a journey which has to go, and every time we have to reinvent ourselves.
Yes. Yes, Professor Gyan from Italy, he has also joined. So, Dr. Gyan, would you like to have some intervention?
Yes, I thank you very much for the very interesting exposition. And I would like to ask a question, perhaps, that is, are there influences from Lohia on the elaboration and the writing of the directive principles of the Indian Constitution? That is, has there been an influence of him on the debate and on the compilation redaction of the directive principles, or not, or there are no documents about this point? I would be interested in it. Thank you very much. It was really very brilliant. Thank you.
So, can I have some further explanation about the question, because there is some, I could not hear it.
Actually, Raghuji, he wanted, our friend from Italy, a scholar, wanted to know about Lohia's impact on the Indian constitutional system, about particularly directive principles. And as you know, and he also knows that Lohia did not join the Constituent Assembly because it was boycotted. Lohia was one of the pillars of civil liberties movement right in 1930s. He had written a very classical treatment of the issue of civil liberties with a foreword by Shri Jawaharlal Nehru. It was an official publication. And that principle got included in Article 19 of the Indian Constitution and many others. So the scholar friend from Italy wants to know from him about Lohia's impact on the guiding principles of Indian Constitution, if any.
With due humility, I say that I don't think Lohia could impact on the Constitution or its making. Socialists have done, I think it's a historical blunder. I have no hesitation to say that they have boycotted the Constituent Assembly. In fact, communists also boycotted the Constituent Assembly, and thereby they failed to impress upon the Assembly about incorporating some of the wonderful ideas. The idea of Article 19 or some of the ideas is mostly the ideas of Nehru in his fundamental resolution at the beginning of the Constitution. Nehru has incorporated these areas, and subsequently also it was Nehru who has been more and Ambedkar. Nehru and Ambedkar who have given the final shape to the Article 19, right to freedom of expression. I would have been very happy because sometimes these historical burdens, I say it instead of blunders, historical burdens will continue for a long time. They would have done a wonderful job by joining because it was a time when they did not recognize the significance of the Constitution and what it can make, how it can impact the generations of the people. Because Lohia has given an expression at one point of time saying that after all, Constitution is the will of the people, indicating that Constitution can be changed at any point of time. If there is a revolution which is similar to Marx, Marx also said that at each revolutionary reconstitution of the society at the epochal level, we can have a different constitution. So even Lohia also has given such a kind of expression, stating that after all, constitution is the will of the people. It can be changed at any point of time, but it's not so. In the modern societies, constitutions have a greater longevity, especially in the modern democracies. This is my humble understanding. I don't say it's the finality of the issue. Thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Raghuji, because it was a great tragedy and a mistake, as it happened with all the socialists led by Jayaprakash Narayan at that time. They anticipated a new revolution, which never arrived. We got counter-revolution, the form of emergency. But to help Professor Glan Lulki, Lohia tried to contribute to decolonization of our legal system by challenging some of the very obnoxious laws and articles in our Criminal Procedure Code and Indian Penal Code, which were damaging the commitment of our Constitution for fundamental rights. Yes. And Raghuji can make a special lecture about it, about some of the major challenges made by Lohia in Supreme Court of India, where he was partly successful also, to ask the Supreme Court to review the validity and the legitimacy of some of those laws in the light of the Constitution of India, which was implemented from 1949. So that way, Lohia contributed to decolonization of our constitutional system, legal system. But as Raghuji said, Lohia and the whole family of Congress socialists made a historical mistake of boycotting the Constituent Assembly with the hope that there'll be a major opportunity on the basis of universal adult franchise, which never came. Thank you, sir.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you so much. And altogether, it was also a kind of different kind of sadhana. We will also invite you for further engagement with Ram Manohar Lohia, because Ram Manohar Lohia also highlighted the ideological problems of socialist movement in India. In that sense, we have to understand his thought with what are the ideological differences between Ram Manohar Lohia and Jayaprakash Narayan and Ajit Patwardhan and Ram Manohar Lohia. In that way, we can understand some of the nuanced understanding of Ram Manohar Lohia. So thank you so much, all of you. And it was really very enriching session. And as Madhu Limai once said, that Dr. Lohia was one of those great leaders who not only advocated the need for the fundamental restructuring of social relations, but also provided an ideological basis for this revolutionary transformation. And that is the beauty of his praxis. And it was really very enriching session. And thank you so much, Dr. Raghuji, for your kind deliberation. And your deliberation is a kind of invitation for all of us to engage with Jayaprakash Narayan and Ram Manohar Lohia's and the whole legacy of socialist movement. So thank you, all of you.
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Thank you, Kumar Garu. Extraordinary and enlightened session today. Extraordinary and enlightened. Thank you all very much.
Thank you so much. Thank you.